The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
The Broken Skull Ranch is only 75 miles from here, but I'm not ready to go to the Broken Skull Ranch. I'm here to talk to my longtime friend, my old buddy, my nemesis, one of my mentors, Paul Heyman. Before I get started with Paul, I want to give a shout out to all the people down there in Austin, Wimberley, Houston. A lot of people have been hit by the floods and all the rains. Hey, man, we're in Texas. We've been in a drought for a long time. We needed the rains, but they came so fast and so hard. A lot of people got in harm's way, lost their livelihoods, their homes, and their lives. So my thoughts go out to everybody that's been impacted by the rains that we've had. We needed the water, but been a little bit much too fast. Nonetheless, now get going. You're tuning into the WWE Network. You're seeing this thing live. You can listen to this podcast on PodcastOne.com and iTunes when it drops as the Steve Austin Show. With no further ado, I am here with my longtime friend, Mr. Paul Heyman. Paul, how are you?
How are you, sir?
Glad to see you.
I'm kind of. It's kind of humbling to be here, actually, to be interviewed by you, because I kind of feel that I should be the one interviewing you. I don't understand
why would you be interviewing me? Well, because you've been on my show several times, so we had to rustle up a bunch of stuff to talk about on this thing.
It's kind of disconcerting to me that Stone Cold Steve Austin would be asking Paul Heyman questions. I just figure with your history and with all that you've accomplished, it should be Paul Heyman interviewing Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I got a chance to do some pretty cool stuff, but that being said, so have you. You spent what? I mean, dude, you're coming up on the backside of 50. You're a little bit younger than I am. No, my point
I'll be 50 on September 11th.
You hustled your way into the business when you was what?
14 years old.
14 years old. So you've been a lifetime in the business. So you got a lot of stuff going up in that cranium right there in your gray matter that we want to get into. And a lot of people, Paul said, Steve, are you going to ask all the hard questions? I don't know what a hard question is. Paul, you've been on my show several times. We just got to shoot the breeze and chit-chat and go back and forth. So that's what we're here to do. So I don't know about hard questions. Do you have any hard questions or answers for me?
What's the capital of Nebraska?
That is a damn good question. Boy, you see, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's for some bitch to come on my show and turn the tides and ask me a question that I do not know the answer to.
He was the 16th president.
Lincoln,
very good. Right, Lincoln, Nebraska.
You and I
Shout out to Nebraska.
Shout out to Nebraska. All right.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Let's get into this because as long as I've known you, and we met down in Atlanta,
right.
And you were very instrumental in my career. And I just want to briefly cover our history because I don't want to make this about me. But we go back so far. For you giving me a breakdown there, putting me in a dangerous alliance in WCW, calling me when I busted my arm, bringing me into ECW and teaching me how to cut a promo. We'll get to some of that stuff with some other superstars that you helped later on the road. But tell me the story, because with all the steel chairs I got busted in the head with, I don't remember all of the details. When was the first time we actually met down in WCW?
Well, we met at Center Stage. And it was funny because you had just come in from Texas, and you had you've been plagued by knee problems your entire career, and you had a big knee brace on, and you were sitting on a crate with Jeannie Clark, who was your wife at the time. And is that am I not supposed to go into the live
TV? Go ahead and roll with it.
Okay, well,
I can't use it. Go ahead. We'll edit it out.
Yeah. So
take it out in post.
So you were sitting on a crate off to the side, and JR and I, because I was JR's color commentator at the time, we were going over the show, and I just kept noticing this, this striking blonde. And I'm not talking about Jeannie. I'm talking about you. You had long blonde hair at the time with very, very wide shoulders.
Good-looking kid.
Good-looking kid, And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, hey, that's the kid Steve Austin from Texas. And JR says, that's him. He and Rod Price are, hell of a tag team down there. But, that guy has something special in him, And then I just couldn't, it was just one of those things. It's like the guy that walks in the room and he calls your attention, and you just had my attention from the get-go.
So, but when did you come up and say, hey, dude?
Actually, the funniest thing was I was going to, and you disappeared. I was going to introduce myself to you, and you disappeared, and you went in the back, and you switched to your gear, and you came into the ring because someone wanted to see you do something, and you started hitting the ropes.
Right.
And I've told this story, I don't think I've told it on your podcast, but I've never seen anybody hit the ropes as frantically and as hard as you were hitting the ropes. Because you would run to the ropes like this, and I'm saying, oh, man, JR, this guy's going to go through the ropes. Like you're going to break the ring. And for some reason, it was just done with such ferocity that I figured if someone can hit the ropes like that, and he's that size and has that look and that much charisma, and again, as Vince always says, your money's right here, and you had those piercing eyes, I turned to JR and I said, we just scored so big with this kid. And he goes, this kid has something special. And I went up to him and he came out of the ring and I just said, I've never seen somebody hit the ropes as hard as that. And you just said, hey, kid, nice to meet you. Steve Austin. and I was like, Paulie Dangerously, because as a schmuck, I would introduce myself as Paulie Dangerously, because why would I tell somebody my name is Paul Heyman back then? I'm Paulie Dangerously. And I introduced myself to you, and then 5 weeks later we were together as manager and wrestler.
But we always hit it off right from the bat. I mean, from that introduction, we always just got along.
Right.
And then when they put the Dangerous Alliance, and I'm just kind of spitballing here, but when they put the Dangerous Alliance together, I was the last piece, and wasn't I your idea?
Yes, and see, the original idea for the Dangerous Alliance, I had gotten suspended by WCW, and Jim Crockett pulled a power move to pull me back in as Rick Rude's manager. So the idea was to build a new Four Horsemen group around Rick Rude.
Right.
It would be Rick Rude, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, Larry Zbyszko. And then they were going to throw in Medusa as well. And I had my eye on, if I was coming back as a manager, to manage you, because I always took a look at, well, who's the next big thing in the business? And I called Dusty on the phone, and we were putting together, because I'd already filed a lawsuit against WCW. It was such a convoluted mess, and I called Dusty.
What was the lawsuit from?
Oh, from being suspended on BS reasons by Jim Herd that nobody liked, and everybody always knocked accordingly. And I called Dusty on the phone, and I said, Dusty, this Dangerous Alliance is going to blow away the Horsemen, but it's missing one piece. Well, I think it's just the greatest thing in the world. I think this is better than the Horsemen. Well, who we missing? And I said, well, this kid, stunning Steve Austin.
I dig that, Dusty.
He's the world's greatest athlete. And he goes, I like that Steve Austin. He's good, but you really think we're going to put this kid in the Dangerous Alliance? And I said, but Dusty, he's from Texas. He's just like you. He's gonna just become the big star in the business. And he goes, I knew the next big star in WCW was gonna be from Texas. He's all yours, baby, because I'm a super genius. I'm glad I thought of the idea. And it's a wonderful idea, Dusty. Thank you very much. And I hung up and I saw Rude at TV, and I said, hey, I think we got Steve Austin. And Rude was like, good for Steve Austin, you know?
Was he cool with that? Because, Rick, we'll get to a Rick Rude story here in a little bit, but Rick was a man's man. I mean, everybody respected Rick. A hellacious worker, good-looking guy, physique, and straight up. I mean, if Rick had something to say, he would come to you and say it. Speak the truth. So was he cool with me coming in?
Very much so. Okay. Very much so. Because you had already
That means a lot to me, because, I had so much respect for him.
No, but you already had a buzz. I mean, you had a buzz coming out of Texas. And again, anybody – see, and it's also just the way not just the way you hit the ropes, but it's the way that you would lock up with people. You had such an intensity in the ring that very few people – because everything had become so smooth.
Right.
Everything had become okay. It became a dance.
Yeah.
And you came in, and your stuff looked like a fight.
Right. Well, I won't talk about me anymore. But you said intensity. When you say intensity, it brings me to your client, Brock Lesnar.
Right.
As you're doing the Dusty, I got to do you. Okay. Where is he? What's he doing? What's he up to? When's he coming back?
Well, the joke would be he'll come back whenever he damn well pleases coming back.
Right.
He'll be back. I think it's public knowledge Brock is coming back rather soon. Where has he been? He's been on his farm. He's a farmer.
Right.
And he's a hunter. And when he's in Canada, he does a little bit of both. And he owns farm property both in the United States and in Canada. What's great about Brock Lesnar is what you see is really what you get.
Right.
He is the son of a dairy farmer from Webster, South Dakota. He grew up on a dairy farm. So with all the money that he's made in WWE, in UFC, back in WWE, what's the one thing that he consistently goes back to? He buys more farmland. Because at the end of the day, no matter how famous he becomes, no matter how many fights he wins, no matter how many WrestleManias he main events, he goes back to being a farmer. Because that's who, at the core, he is. And a hunter. Because that's who, at heart, he is.
Man, him been trying to get together a hunt for years. So can you line it up sometime, somehow, some way? And maybe Brock Lesnar's watching this interview on the WWE Network back on the farm. You got to get him some time so that me and him can do some hunting together. Hell, send a damn network down to film it. But I've been trying to hunt with the guy. Can you line that up?
I'll try.
Do you have any stroke around here?
I do have the stroke in lining it up. I don't have the stroke in accompanying the two of you because,
Dude, you ain't going to come down to Broken Skull Ranch and hang out with us?
I'm a Jew, and my people, we're not hunters. We're furriers. You know, I mean, right. You see, the whole crew's laughing now about that, especially the guy over there who's Jewish, because he knows. Because, it's like, I can't kill the thing, but I can make you a nice lapel out of it.
But again, the diamonds as well. How y'all in, as you would say, diamonds, furs, a movie business? What's the deal here? It's a monopoly?
What? What?
What?
What?
Your people.
My people.
Yeah.
What? We own everything.
I know.
We own the media.
How is that?
Well, because we're the smart people. We're the Jews. I mean, we screwed up in the Middle East. I mean, and we did. I mean, I can speak about this because we're supposed to be the chosen people, and here and here we pick the only piece of land in the Middle East that has no oil on it. Everything we have is sand and the Mediterranean Sea, which for generations people have been trying to push us out into. Every Jewish holiday is the same thing. They tried to kill us and we're still alive. So, I mean,
Hey, I got to ask you.
So hunting's kind of out of the question for us. You
got an open invite anytime you want to come down.
In case anybody in the WWE Network has always wanted to know that, Jewish history as told by Paul Heyman, you've now been educated about as far as I'm willing to take you.
But let me ask you one more thing about Brock. With respect to... He was playing, a little bit of leverage with UFC. I mean, or was he really thinking about going back and fighting some more? Was it a leverage play? If he had to. But did he really want to stay here? Because, man, I think I talked to Brock one time, and, Brock, again, like Rude, he's a man's man. He's going to do what he's going to do. But I just thought, man, it'd be great for him to stay here for another, however many years he wants to stay. I know Brock's not a big fan of traveling. And so how serious was the UFC option?
Brock opened up a mini training camp in January, prepared that if he didn't cut the right deal with WWE, that he would then do a full-blown training camp and go straight back into UFC. The discussion in his head never got to, well, who's my first opponent going to be? Right. The discussion in his head was, whoever they put in front of me, I'm going to be ready. I think Brock was very torn by his decision because this run in WWE truly was so enjoyable. Conquering the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania, the manner in which he just decimated John Cena at SummerSlam for the WWE World Championship. We had a run here. We had a role in the past year that we never truly enjoyed before.
It was a hell of a ride.
And yet his contract was coming up. On the flip side of that, weighing against it was the following. He's an athlete. He is a hunter and a predator. And he's always challenged himself that way. And he does view himself as the baddest dude on the planet.
Right.
I mean, in his fourth fight, he took on Randy Couture, the greatest heavyweight of all time in UFC. I don't think anybody would even compare anybody to Couture. And he beat the living crap out of Couture where they had to stop the fight in the second round and award the championship to Brock. Brock Lesnar accomplished that with diverticulitis.
Right.
He's had diverticulitis his entire life. He won the NCAA Division I Heavyweight Championship. If they look back at his blood screenings now, they can say, well, yeah, you know what? Your numbers are off, and you probably were suffering from diverticulitis. But he's such a beast, he never realized it.
Right.
So now here he is for the first time in his life healthy. He's healthy. What could he accomplish this time, even at 37 years old? Weighing against that, we've had a blast here in WWE. He's enjoying himself in WWE for really the first time. He never took the time to sit back and say, man, this is enjoyable.
There's people out there that think that Brock Lesnar doesn't enjoy the business because of the way he approaches it. I mean, he has limited dates. I can understand the dates negotiated are what they are. But there's people, the IWC, who say, why should he do this? Why should he do that? He's not there enough. But I know Brock, not as well as you do, but I know that he loves the business.
Right.
Some people don't think that he does.
Well, two ways to look at that. Number one, he loves the business, but he loves his children more. And his children need a father more than WWE needs Brock Lesnar. Number two, and I've used this analogy many times, but anytime he appears, it's special. It's not just commonplace. You can't miss a Brock Lesnar match. It's not just must-see, it's can't miss. And the analogy that I give is, what's the most wonderful night of the year? Christmas Eve. Everybody gathers around a tree. The children loves the grandparents give gifts. Oh, we love each other. We love you. Oh, right. Santa's coming. It's such a blissful, blessed, wonderful night. Why don't we do Christmas 365 nights a year? Because it would lose the meaning. It would lose how unique it is. It would lose how special it is. It wouldn't be. You could I forgot last night was Christmas. There's 364 more a year. When we come on television and we say Brock Lesnar is going to be appearing on this show on this date, in the old Freddie Miller, don't you dare miss it, be there. Hey, guess what? Don't you dare miss it, be there.
Now, I dig that, but, I got a lot of people sending in questions to my Twitter account, Steve Austin BSR. They sent in email questions to questions@steveaustonshow.com. They're asking if Brock's not going to be on television more. They're wondering if you will take on more people because they're wanting more of you. Now, I ain't trying to turn you babyface on the podcast, but people dig what you do.
Well, thank you.
I know you're with Brock, but would you entertain the thought of taking more clients on that you could advocate more, or would that take away from the specialty that is you and Brock Lesnar, which is money?
It's a very interesting dynamic because Brock and I have such a defined relationship on television that works because it's a mirror of how we are in real life. Right. It's a true friendship. It's a true partnership. Right. I am his advocate. Right. So it transpires that way. It translates that way on television. So when you put me with somebody else, it's always Brock Lesnar's guy, Brock Lesnar's advocate with that other person. And that's a hard position to put the other person in. Now, the one person that it did work with was Punk, because we also have a friendship, and it's also a much different dynamic. And I played, really, with Punk, a different character than I played with Brock. I was playing two roles at the same time on television, and just because of how Punk could carry the ball by himself, I use the analogy with me and Punk that we were like, and this is, I admit, I'm going to sound very old when I say this. It's not a Justin Bieber reference. We were like Morris Day and Jerome. Right. I was simply the guy behind him going like, yeah.
Okay, but you brought up Punk. What about Punk? Have you talked to him lately?
CM Punk?
Yes.
Almost every day. I mean, we text more than we talk, but we're both now become texters instead of talkers. But almost on a daily. Our friendship's not based on the business itself. We have a friendship outside of the business. So yes, I talk to him all the time.
How do you see his UFC career going? I mean, there's a thing where, because, Brock was looking at the UFC because he had bills to pay. Right. He hadn't had the monster run that he was going to have. He had a great run in UFC. Now he had a great run in WWE. Right. Punk had a great run in WWE. Now he went to UFC just because, burned out a little bit, went down the road. So at the end of the day, though, whether he wins or loses, I mean, he wins because he's punching a check out on his bucket list, and he's fulfilling a lifelong passion he's had with this. So how do you see that decision, and how do you see this playing out for him?
I don't think money is the motivating factor in CM Punk's life whatsoever. I think it's the challenge to do this. I think this is something that he's been eyeballing since he was a kid, and I think he looks back and he probably regrets not getting into it 5 or 6 years earlier, but this was the time to pull the trigger on it, and this is where he's going. And I think that he firmly believes he is either going to step into that octagon and shock everybody by beating somebody's ass, or he's going to get punched in the face and knocked out or tapped out and beat up. And I think he's very accepting of the fact that that's a possibility, and he's man enough to walk in there and take his chances.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Do you own a home or condo? Or perhaps you rent a house or apartment? Sure you do. And Geico knows it can be hard work. Because whether you own or rent, you still have to fill it full of your stuff. Your furniture, the flat screen, and all the boxes of stuff that have been sitting there ever since you moved in, but haven't unpacked. It's hard to find the time, right? But you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. That way, you'll rest easy knowing that your home and all your stuff is protected. Like the furniture and that flat screen. Plus, getting a quote on homeowners and renters insurance is super easy through Geico. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. You know, like going through all those boxes of stuff. Visit geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
State of the business today. At WrestleMania 30, there was a guy who went to the WWE Hall of Fame. His name was Jake Roberts. Do you remember this man?
Very, very well.
Okay. He had a finish maneuver called the DDT. When he hit that summit on somebody, you stayed down.
Right.
These days, I'm seeing DDTs everywhere I look. I didn't know if I saw one tonight on Raw because I was busy getting ready for the show. Saw a bunch of them on a bunch of pay-per-views, and I just don't understand what the landscape is here with respect to that move. I mean, what is happening? Is the DDT now just a backdrop? Can nobody sell this thing? What is the state of the business? The guys these days, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I mean, these guys that are entering are way better athletes than I was in the generation before me. And so they're performing at a very fast pace and a very high level, and I respect the athleticism. But, you know, they're working so hard, you've also got to work extremely smart. And with as smart as the crowd is, man, you've got to sell. If nothing hurts, who gives a damn?
The Rock's father, Rocky Johnson, used to win matches with a drop kick.
Exactly.
That was his finish.
Talk about Harley Race.
That was, yeah.
Vertical souffle, as Gordon Sully would say.
We're in sync. We're in sync.
Okay.
Harley Race's finish was a simple suplex. Not a suplex bounced off the ropes, not a suplex not off the top rope, not a spinning one, not a brainbuster, a simple hook.
Are the guys out working themselves? Come on. Dude, you were the head of ECW.
Well,
you guys took, no pun intended,
the wrong example to
extreme
give.
to a whole new level.
But
guys, I mean, at least guys were selling the train wrecks they were in.
Okay. I have a feeling that somehow...
Come back to the landscape of WWE. We're booking here. We're booking the territory. This is what we would do back in the day. When you
in the car, right?
You work your match. You take a shower. You get in the car.
And you bitch. And you bitch the whole way down the road.
More likely than not, you drank some beer, and then you book the territory.
Right.
Depending on where you were on the card, you would book yourself stronger or weaker. But we're booking the territory here. Guys got to sell more.
This is my answer to that. If you take a Mark Henry, okay, or someone of Mark Henry's size and power and strength and obvious strength, and you say his finish is a headlock, and if Mark Henry walks in the ring, and he snatches a guy just like this, and he just holds him there, and all of a sudden you just see, I quit, I tap, I quit, I tap. And now, here's the word, no one uses a headlock. No one. If you do, you answer to him, and you answer to Vince, you know? Okay. So, no one uses a headlock, and Mark Henry comes out on TV for 26, 27, 28, 30 weeks. Grabs the guy in the headlock. And the guy's trying to push his way out of the headlock. I can't get out. I tap. He's crushing my skull.
Right.
I guarantee you within 30 weeks, that's going to be a finish that people are talking about. Oh, man, that headlock, that's a bad move. He could win the world title with that headlock. And at WrestleMania, when somebody powers out of that headlock, it will be one of the biggest moments of the year. Moves will get over as long as people put the move over, get the move over. The announcers react to the move as if it's something devastating and unusual and big, and everybody on the roster is cognizant of protecting it.
Word that starts with the J. Hallelujah. Thank you for saying that. I'd just like to see someone sell a DDT or, within the whole spectrum of what's going on in the ring. We saw a pretty damn good Raw tonight. We saw and heard a couple of pretty damn good promos out there. Cena went out there and gave a pretty damn impassioned process of exchange with Kevin Owens, who I'm really high on. I go back to Jake Roberts. Man, what a promo he was. I mean, he never raised his voice. Harley Race didn't raise his voice either. Right. He was menacing. He delivered a message. It wasn't no lollygagging around. Right. And it was malicious intent, and he meant every single word of it. We saw some pretty good promos today, but by and large, there's something missing in the big picture here with respect to promos. You are the promo master. There's nobody, let me blow a little smoke, and this is just calling a spade and tell it like it is, or cutting before you took your little hiatus after, Brock, took his leave of absence after doing the things he did. You're going out there and laying down some of the damnedest promos I've ever heard. Now, of course, I go back to your early days, Continental, all that stuff. I mean, you've always had the gift of gab, and now you've taken it to the E=MC² level. So with respect to promos, I'm a big fan of you going out and cutting a promo, me listening to it and responding accordingly. It's not quite like that, but I think it should be. I feel like that would bring more spontaneity. I don't know what's happening next. You see a guy out there, sometimes you fall on your face, but you learn from it, and it makes you stronger. Right. Talk to me about the art and science of a promo.
Well, I think in today's environment, the question to ask is, where's the money? And that goes back to a lesson that I learned from Dusty Rhodes again. I mean, this is we had some kind of special. I don't remember which show it was, but it was when I was first in WCW. I think we may have been heading into Starrcade. My very first Starrcade. I was just starting in WCW. And this is where there's Ric Flair, and there's Dusty Rhodes, and there's Sting, and there's Kevin Sullivan, and there's the Road Warriors. I mean, man, you just talk about just a lineup full of guys that could really cut promos, especially in that era. And there's Jim Cornette, and I was opposed to Jim Cornette. And Cornette had his promo somewhere in the middle of the show, and I thought I was going to have the next segment, and Dusty switched it. I didn't follow Cornette. Dusty said, "You're going to close the show, baby." Okay, Dream, how much time do I have? And he goes, as much time as left, you're going to get a 5-second countdown and wrap it up. Yeah. I went, wow. So it was open, just the last match is in the ring, and I could have had 4 minutes. I could have had 30 seconds. Yeah. And then, just wing it, and I went out there, and I had about 4 minutes. And I did everything. I imitated everybody on the roster. I talked about everybody else's match. I tried to put everything over. I ran around the podium. I did everything I possibly could except speaking in tongues to garner people's attention so that you wouldn't dare click that dial. And, and I ended it with some ridiculous punchline that, so that people would say, "Oh, that was very cute what you said." And I came in the back, and I thought, man, I'm a star. I'm Paulie Danielson. I'm the greatest promo of all time. And Dusty looks at me and goes, "Thank you very much, kid. That was so very, very entertaining. But the question I have for you is, where's the money?"
Right.
I never sold Starrcade.
You went out there and you danced around for 4 minutes and you said blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, there wasn't no money in that promo.
I drew no money.
Right.
And I never forgot that. So I think that, old school is new school, just updated into today's environment. And I think that the one thing you have to think of in everything that you say is, well, where's the money in this? What am I selling?
Right.
Now, sometimes that's all you sell is personality.
Right.
A promo for me sometimes is simply to say, Brock Lesnar. And just by the fact that I say his name viscerally and violently and with in that gutter way, people go, "Ooh, it's Brock." It's not Brock Lesnar.
No, man, it evokes, "Hey, man, I'm scared of this so much."
And I mean, I did a whole summer's worth of promos last year just saying my client, Brock Lesnar, conquered The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania. Right. That was my one line all summer long, because that's what I was in charge of selling. Now, if I'm in charge of selling the main event of SummerSlam or the main event of WrestleMania, what else am I going to say? So that's how I approach it, and that's how people today have to approach it, is what am I selling here?
But when you was a kid, you were flipping channels on TV, I guess. It was Madison Square Garden. It was Vince McMahon Jr.
Right.
Vince, on the back over there, where are you at? Hey, Vince. He was interviewing superstar Billy Graham in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
And Billy Graham was wearing that maroon Arizona State shirt. And that's what hooked you on the business.
Yeah.
And so when I think about, some of the technicalities of a promo, I think, content, delivery, intensity, cadence, volume are just the different components. So there's many things. I mean, so many times, here's the thing. A lot of people didn't like the Ultimate Warrior's promos. I did, because they were an endorsement of his character. When he's talking about, fueling up spaceships and sending them to the moon and all this stuff, I dug it because it furthered, my belief in the warrior. He was being true to the warrior. He wasn't, talking about how bad he was going to crush you and tearing you to pieces.
Right.
He was further embracing his character. So I dug Warriors promos, but a lot of people didn't. So and sometimes it's not always just about content. It's about how you say it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because you could go out and say a lot of the stuff that you're saying, but it wouldn't resonate with me or anybody else, but it's the way with which you do that. And all of those different components play in, but to your point, sometimes there's times to lay, different factors or all of it on the line within the structure of a promo.
Right.
And sometimes...
I agree.
No, but don't let me sit there and just jump on a soapbox here. On the other side of that, just because you have a guy that can cut a promo doesn't mean that he should go out there and get 5 minutes every single Monday night if he doesn't have anything to bounce that off or someone to echo the reverse sentiments. Right. Because that's giving a guy enough verbal rope to hang himself.
Right. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
No. Right. So in your thought process, I mean, with what's going on, how would we change the promo system? You're a guy, working with Brock Lesnar, but how influential are you with guys and gals coming up in the system? Because you gave me confidence. You were able to, turn me into a laser beam, and you have a lot of guys. Right. Well, do you work with the talent on that?
I mean, I talk to as many of the young talent that want to come up to me and talk with me about it. I don't impose my opinions on them. And
I know you got a lot of people beating down your door because everybody thinks highly of you, and you won't say that, but I will. So there's got to be a long list.
The one thing that I will say that I look at today's promos and I think where there's a disconnect is that people will come into the ring and pontificate right off the bat.
Right.
They just take the mic and it's automatically, last week on SmackDown, I got very annoyed by what happened to me. It's like, whoa, hold on a second. And that's where, by the way, I came up with, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. Because it's the very first thing I say. I engage. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. And people go, oh, you know who that is? That's Paul Heyman, and I am the advocate for Brock Lesnar. Oh, so now I know who you are. You're Paul Heyman, and I know what you do. You're that guy's advocate. Right. And I'm here tonight to sell you on SummerSlam, on WrestleMania, on Brock's rivalry with Seth Rollins, The Undertaker, or whomever. Oh, so this is the purpose of this guy's interview. So in 3 sentences, I've now told you who I am, what I do, and what I'm here for tonight. I've now engaged in the audience. I'm Paul Heyman. I'm Bob. I'm Brock Lesnar's advocate. I'm a truck driver. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. And I'm here tonight to tell you about this. Oh, I'm here tonight to listen to you. So I engage. And I think that we have lost the art of engaging the audience, and we are preaching and pontificating to the audience.
And sometimes just simply stating words or orating, trying to deliver a message, but if that message is not heartfelt, it does not resonate.
Right.
And it just comes from nowhere. One thing I just want to touch on before I move along, when I'm seeing 2 guys out there doing promos and both guys got a stick in their hands and the other guy's talking and then the guy's got the stick down by his side and he starts mouthing while the other guy's talking. Well, if you're going to mouth, pick up the horn and speak your piece or don't move your mouth.
Right. Because
you're burying yourself.
Right.
So that's just kind of a green thing that a lot of guys do. It doesn't make sense. A lot of veteran guys will do it. You've been here for a long time, but you hustled your way in, and your first hustle, indeed, was with Vince's dad.
Right.
And so how well did you know Vince Sr.?
Well, I mean, I made my first $50 in this business from Vince Sr. I actually took that picture. I actually, whomever got this, congratulations, because I actually took that picture. I believe that is the one it's either with Monsoon or with Tony. I think it's with Tony Atlas, which is why they cropped out Tony Atlas. It's because I wasn't going to tell a Tony Atlas story on here. I met Vincent James McMahon because, and I've told this story several times. I found out that he used to take everybody, his inner circle. Yeah. Arnold Skolin, Gorilla Monsoon, Angelo Savoldi, Willie Gilzenberg. I took that picture too. In fact, that's the picture. That's the picture that got me the $50 of Vince and Andre. What happened was, anyway, I found out that he used to take his inner circle to Ben Benson's restaurant in New York City. Right. And I called the Cape Cod Coliseum, which is where the offices were, because the Cape Cod Coliseum at the time was owned by Vincent Kennedy McMahon. But that's where the Capital Wrestling Corporation offices were now located. Vince Sr. lived in Boca. So I called, and I had when I was 14 years old, I had a deep voice. And I said, this is Paul Heyman. I met Vince McMahon at Ben Benson Steakhouse. And he told me to call him to get my press pass. And after a number of different screeners I got past, I ended up on the phone with Vincent James McMahon. Right. And I was told to go down to the Holland Hotel on 42nd Street and 8th Avenue, which at the time was in the pre-Giuliani area, the worst part of New York City. And I went up to the second floor, and there's Gorilla Monsoon and Arnold Skolin with playing pinochle with an open bottle of booze and two big glasses of ice. And I got my press pass. And I went into Madison Square Garden, and I hung out in a photographer's room. And what I did was I knew I had to get out to the ring and stay out of sight, out of mind. So back then, before the digital era, I had 400 ASA film, which is such a fast film, you didn't need a flash for it. And I'm walking down the hallway in Madison Square Garden, and Vince Sr. is talking to Andre. And a photographer, George Napolitano and Bill Apter, wanted to take their picture. And as I'm walking by, I keep the camera low and I focus, and I took the picture from below, which made Andre just look like such a giant. It's called, the old Andre shot. And here's Vince Sr. looking up with, and he was the Pope of Madison Square Garden, and he's looking up majestically at Andre. So I come back the next month, and I printed out an 8x10 of the picture. And I'm in the hallway, and I watch, and I see my opening. And as soon as Vince Sr. is alone, I make a beeline for him, and I put the picture in his hand. Yeah. And two Madison Square Garden security guards, including one named Emil. And I know right now, if Vince is listening to this, there's a tear running down his face because that was, I hope it was Emil. Oh, God, if I have his name wrong, I know Vince is sitting there going, I'm going to kill Heyman when this is over. And it was Emil's alley, because he was a big former New York City cop. Right. And then the Garden was his turf. And they picked me up by the elbows, and they pushed me back against the wall and go, you're not supposed to go up to him. I was like, I got a press pass. And
did you get him a picture?
Yeah, I gave him the picture, and he had it in his hand. And next thing you hear is, young man, may I speak to you for a minute? And
Senior said that.
And no. And a guy pulls me aside, and it's Howard Finkel. Yeah. He says, young man, did you take that picture? I said, yes, sir, I did. And he goes, Mr. McMahon likes that picture very much. I said, well, it's his. He can have it, Thank you very much. And there's a folded up $50 bill, and he presses it in my hand like this. And he says, that's for your troubles. Every month, please give us whatever picture. We'd like to use it for a program, a poster, something, if you don't mind. And we'd like to cover your trans.
So Howard greased
to the Garden. Well, the old man greased me through Howard. Through Howard.
That's great.
And I never got the $50 direct from Vince Sr. Right. I'd get it from Arnold Skolin. I got it from Benny Skolin. Right. But I never got it direct from Vince Sr.
What was the difference between Vince Sr.'s vision of the business, where it was, and to what Vince has done with the business?
Oh, well, I mean, it was different times. Vince Sr. played to the distribution of the times, which was syndicated television, in which your tapes were bicycled from station to station to station to station. And he had a carved out territory that was his. And if someone, even if it's the White Sox owner, Eddie Einhorn, who was a billionaire in the 1970s, tried to come into the territory. You fought for the turf and you fought for the territory, and that was his section of the country.
Right.
From, Presque Isle, Maine, all the way down to Washington, D.C. And then below that were the Crockett's, and Eddie Graham had Florida, and Jim Barnett and a number of different partners would have Georgia, and there were the Von Erichs in Texas, and blah, blah, blah,
right.
blah, blah. When the times were changing with the advent of cable television, Joe Blanchard, from right here in San Antonio, Texas, was the first person to cut a deal on USA Network. Ole Anderson from Georgia was already going up into Columbus, Ohio, and taking a look at expanding into there. So the roots of expansion and testing the different parameters were already out there, because Ole, actually, Superstation TBS was already a superstation. If you had early cable, they were on first. They were on, national TV for whatever limited penetration cable TV had. So when Vincent Kennedy McMahon bought the promotion from his father, he was walking into a far different distribution era, because now we were coming into the advent of true national cable television, which was going to wipe out the concept of syndicating your television show to a selected territory, because now the territory was the whole country.
But that was starting when Senior had the business, but he was loyal to the territory system, correct? Or not?
Well, here's the question that I think...
Go ahead.
Here's the question I think no one ever back then was willing to ask. If Vincent James McMahon was 5 years younger, would he have honored those territorial boundaries, or would he also have seen what was going to happen with national cable distribution and understood that if he didn't get into it, Jim Barnett was going to do it. Right. Jim Crockett was going to try. Bill Watts had his eye on, especially with Jim Ross in his ear. Vern Gagne, for as far behind at times as Vern Gagne was, Vern would have understood that.
Right.
Vern would have understood national cable television. Whoever could get to it, and he did, because he went on ESPN. So someone was going to get in, and who got there first was Joe Blanchard. But if Vincent James McMahon ran the promotion 5 years longer, I think he would have had no choice but to go down that road and to take everybody else on. Now, was he equipped to do it? Was he ruthless enough to do it?
Right.
Was he aggressive and assertive, and was he ambitious enough to do it? I didn't know him well enough to say
then,
that.
and obviously, Vince...
Oh, Vincent Kennedy McMahon sure was.
was vicious enough, aggressive enough, and had the balls to go down that road.
Yes.
Vince has told me, I did podcast, it's on TV, he would get death threats back in the day. Did you hear those stories?
Of course.
A lot of people hated him.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people.
You know what? I witnessed every month Lou Albano wanting to kill him. If you got to the Garden early, Lou Albano would show up. The Garden show began at 8:30 back then.
Right.
On Mondays, every once a month, Madison Square Garden, 8:30 at night on a Monday. And Lou Albano would show up probably at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with a huge bottle of Tropicana grapefruit juice, and look at that picture. That's me at 15 years old, Ernie Roth, the Grand Wizard, Lou Albano, and Freddie Blassie.
Right.
So, and a big pimple right there on my chin. I just got my braces.
Good looking kid.
Hey, certainly was.
So was he getting juiced up?
Hey, I'm all right now, but yesterday was rough. So, oh man, Albano was snorkeled. I mean, he had a 64-ounce bottle of Tropicana grapefruit juice with about a drop of grapefruit juice in it. I mean, he was hammered. And, of course, no matter what they wanted him to do, it's the kid. It's Junior, the kid. That's the stupidest. Oh, he hated him. He hated him because, he was loyal to the old man,
right.
and the kid was too aggressive, and then the kid wanted this, and it's the kid. And Lou just couldn't accept the transition. And he would say something way out of line and way stupid, and he got fired. He would be fired, and he would go down to Charlie O's, and somewhere before 7 o'clock, Vince Sr. would send somebody, Angelo Savoldi, Phil Zacco, somebody down, go get Albano, and they'd load him up with coffee, and he'd come back with his tail between his legs. I'm sorry. And you had to love him, and they gave him his job back.
But what about you and the old man? What about you and Vince? I mean, you guys have had your highs and lows, tumultuous times, good times, bad times.
Right.
Where are you guys now?
I think we probably get along better than we ever have before because we don't interact with each other on a daily basis. I'm not really driving him crazy trying to tell him how to save the industry. I pretty much. It's funny. I watched a David Letterman interview with Charlie Rose,
right?
And it was funny because I really related to it. How when Letterman switched to CBS, how he thought he had all the answers for television. And he said, don't worry about television. We're gonna fix TV. And that was always the dynamic with me and Vince. Is that when I came aboard this company in 2001, I was hired to give the contrarian opinion, and so I always thought, well, that's my job. So no matter what he says,
right.
Here's an alternative. Here's the opposite. And because he always, think as I think, do as I do. Okay, so I would fight. Because I would always, I'd say, hey, you're a fighter. You would push your ideas through until you were smacked down. And I guess he got tired of smacking me down. And it became a contentious dynamic for many, many years.
But did you finally, after all those years, just change the way you dealt with him?
Of course.
I mean...
But I changed the way I've dealt with a lot of people. I mean, fatherhood has mellowed me out. Except
That's
for
what
tonight
I was going to ask you about.
On this podcast, because I drank 5 iced coffees before we came on the air. We have the host who, drinks stone cold beer, and we have, the advocating Jew who drinks 5 iced coffees before he does a podcast. I've mellowed tremendous. I mean, you knew me back in the day. I was,
high strung.
I mean, it's funny because, and this is a true story, and I dare anybody to prove me wrong. I mean, I've never in my life done a line of cocaine. Never.
Come on.
Never. No, oh my!
Come on,
you knew me back
straight
then.
up.
If I did a line of cocaine, my heart would have blown up back then.
Really?
No, yeah. Well, again, I grew up in an era where Len Bias did 1 line of cocaine and he dropped dead. And my thing was always, I always had the fear that I would do a line of cocaine and that my father, and it would blow up my heart, and my father would be standing over my grave and say, you threw your life away. I could understand you throwing your life away for a lot of things, but for this. Right. For this, you make me stand over you. It's the Jewish guilt thing, right. So no, I never. But nobody who knew me back then, case in point, would ever believe, man, come on, you were strung up on something. You were wired to the gills, and that's just how I was. I was so high strung back then. Fatherhood has chilled me out tremendously, and it's chilled me out in my approach to what we do. Also here, it used to be I would live and breathe for every single solitary thing that would happen on a show. If I was the lead writer, I would fight Vince and Stephanie to my own death.
Well, let's talk about when you were the head SmackDown writer. It was your mission for SmackDown to take down Raw.
Right.
And it did.
Yeah. Yeah, and that got me.
How much did that get you for succeeding?
I think I realized how much heat it was getting me when I had the announcers, when I had Michael Cole and Taz on the air start calling Raw the B Show. And because what happened was I was on a plane.
Yeah.
I was on the corporate jet. We were flying back, and I pitched
the plane ride with Vince, right?
Right.
Now this is the infamous plane ride. This is what I've been hearing about. What happened?
Oh no! That was something. That was 2006. The infamous plane ride was something.
Okay, I want to hear about the infamous 2006 plane ride. What happened?
Oh,
did they open it? The cargo door is about to throw you out? What happened?
It's funny. He's never talked about it publicly, and so I don't know if I'm in the right to violate that confidence. Here's what happened in a nutshell. It was time for me to go.
Right.
I had lost my passion. I had lost my purpose in the industry. We had rebranded, we had revitalized, reignited, resurrected. That's the word I'm looking for. We had resurrected the ECW brand. It was very personal to me.
Yes.
That brand. And I didn't like the way it was going. And it became a very personal fight between me and Vince. I had offered many times, just let me write SmackDown again and give someone else the ECW brand, because maybe you'll feel less compelled to change the show on someone that's not me.
Right.
It just became a bad dynamic. Now, it was the old cowboy thing. This town ain't big enough for the two of us.
Right.
And one of us had to go. And I would dare to say that in an in a situation where you or Vince McMahon have to go from the company, it ain't going to be Vince that's leaving. So my run was over. It really was. I was burned out. I was tired. I had lost my love for it, and I couldn't find my way anymore. And he sensed it, and he was angry at me, and I was angry at him, which it just makes a toxic working relationship. And it came to a head. We had a really, 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 really indescribably bad show, and we were looking at each other and MFing each other because it's like, hey, this is what you did to my brand. And he's like, this is what you did to my investment. Yeah. And it all came to a head on the plane, and by the time we got off that plane, he really, really, really wanted me to go home, and I was really, really happy to oblige. And it took 5.5 years for that to become a real learning lesson for the both of us.
I got to get to a couple of stories from the road because I think we got 10, 15 minutes left, whatever left on the podcast. Man, back in the day, we get on the road, a bunch of guys in a car, and we'd book the territory. We'd talk about everything under the sun. There was a great story. It was you, myself, and Rick Rude traveling in a car. I don't know what state we were in. I think it was somewhere down south. And Rick blew up at me. Would you tell that story?
Well, I don't know if I can under PG restrictions here. Steve likes to say, gosh darn.
Yeah, and no offense or no disrespect, but I use GD a whole lot.
Right, and it's not. Gosh darn is kind of the toned down version of it.
That's the PG rating version.
We're going to say gosh darn here. And
I was just venting and telling stories and raising hell, and we're having a good time.
I know you like to, I like to eat all those healthy gosh darn chickens there, Rick. But gosh darn, I'm a Sonic man myself. And gosh darn, you bite into that juicy burger sometimes, and the gosh darn thing. And Rick Rude is sitting in the front seat, and he is turning purple, and the veins in his neck are coming out, and he just reaches over and just says, pull over the car. What? Pull over the car, Paul E. And I pull the car over. I'm like, why am I pulling the car over? And Rick Rude turns around and says, how can I say this one in PG environment? Steve, must you take the fudging Lord's name in vain? And Steve is sitting there, and here's Rick, who was no saint himself, who kind of viewed the commandments as a suggestion more than an order from God. And Steve just totally baby faces Rude and goes, oh, Rick, I'm sorry. I didn't know you felt so fervently about religion, and I apologize to you. I'm just shooting the breeze here, and I promise not to say the Lord's name in vain again. Thank you very much. You're gosh darn welcome. And he's just exploding to the point where he got so mad he just started laughing at himself, because if not, his head was going to blow up.
Baby-faced him, and I turned back heel on him. Oh, but he was just great, because, it was like, Rick, he was certainly no saint on the road. I just leave it at that.
Right.
And heaven forbid that of all the things that Stunning Steve was going to do was use the Lord's name in vain was the thing that's going to flip him over the edge.
Oh.
You had one more road story. It was a North Carolina road story. Some crazy stuff.
The Samoans.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, this is back in the day before there was cameras on every highway, and
am I sitting up straight? My wife is going to rip me a new ass.
Excuse me.
Tell me the story.
Well, this is back in the day when we didn't have satellites and hover. What do you call it? Somebody yell it out to me. What do you call the thing? Drones. And everything is photographed, and in the Orwellian society that we live in today. And Sting would ride with the Steiner brothers.
Right.
And Sting was the wheelman. And Scott would sit in the front seat of the car. And, here's big 285-pound Scotty Steiner. And his brother, Rick, would be in the back seat. Well, what they would do is, because remember we all rent those Lincoln Continentals or the Cadillacs, and they would come down the highway, and what would happen is they'd see another car full of wrestlers. And Rick would come into the front seat, and Scotty would lower his window, and Sting would speed the car up to about 85 miles an hour, and Scott would hook his brother by the ankle and by the knee, and Rick would reach out the window, and they'd pull right up next to your car, open your car door, and grab you by the leg. And, I mean, if you think about it, all someone had to do was go, ah! It would kill everybody. But nobody ever did that. Right. Everybody just went, oh, just panicked when they saw this. Because here's Rick, Rick Steiner, who was just so scary back then.
Yeah, great guy.
And they would grab, he'd grab you by the leg. Well, I was riding at the time with the Samoan SWAT team. Samu, who's Alpha's son, and Junior, who became Rikishi, who's the father of the Usos, and the uncle of Roman Reigns. Well, what happened was we're up heading to a town, and we see Sting and the Steiners coming up behind us, and of course we lock the door. Yeah. So when Sting and the Steiners pull up, Steiner comes to get me, but I see him, and he comes. And he's knocking on my window, and we got these guys. So they pull up ahead of us, and Sting switches with Scott in the front seat, which is a very dangerous thing to do, and I don't recommend anybody tries it. And the next thing you know, they're throwing their food out at us, which starting with a watermelon. Yeah. So here comes this watermelon flying at us on the highway, and we're going like this. And of course, the Samoans say, "Pull over, butter. Pull over at the convenience store." And they load up. And they load up with everything you can possibly imagine, so that on the ride back home, it's now the Road Warriors. And I don't mean Animal and Hawk. Yeah. I mean the Mel Gibson movie, not the Tom Hardy movie. I mean the Road Warrior, Mad Max Part 2. So the Samoans are cutting their hands. And they're writing in blood, SST, and they're writing it on the car. And Sting and the Steiners are now involved in a full-born road war. We're throwing bottles and food and baseballs and anything that you could possibly have purchased. So by the time I got the car back to Charlotte, North Carolina, it was totaled. They declared the car, dollar rent-a-car, declared the car total, and they put the car up in the parking lot at is it MacArthur Airport? Whatever it is, in Charlotte, North Carolina. We will not rent to Paulie Dangerously. Yeah. Back in the day where you could actually get on an airplane as Paulie Dangerously. We will not rent to Paulie Dangerously of World Championship Wrestling ever again. I'm blacklisted to this day of ever renting a car.
Still?
26 years later, I can't rent a car in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I got to wrap this thing up here pretty quick.
But before you do,
okay,
could we play role reversal here? Could I ask you the tough question?
You could ask me a question the whole time we was doing the podcast. Yeah, you can ask me a question.
What do you think of John Cena's springboard stunner?
Oh, man. He could have had a hell of a damn move with that thing, and all of a sudden just let everybody start kicking out of it, so it's like a wasted deal. I mean, it's like a DDT. Why do it? It ain't working, so now it's just a move that ain't worth a damn. The fact that he's doing it doesn't bother me at all. And everybody knows, man, I'm a vocal John Cena supporter. Man, guy works his ass off. You saw him out there in the ring tonight. When he goes out to the ring, there's electricity. As a move, really, with precision, the way those ropes get oiled up, it's a high-risk maneuver. Timing, someone's going to get messed up by it, or maybe someone's going to blow a wheel out, or maybe he's going to throw out his lower back. But it is what it is, but it's not effective. Next question.
Would you like to fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 32?
Ass. If I was going to fight Brock Lesnar, I'd beat his ass. And you know that as well as I do, Paul. You sit there with that little grin on your face. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to, but I think you know how this is going to go down.
Well, I mean, and shouldn't it, though? The toughest SOB in WWE history versus the baddest dude on the planet. And I don't know if you've heard this, but WrestleMania 32 is in your home state of Texas. Now, where better than to have the rattlesnake against the beast, but in Texas with 100,000 people?
Obviously, that'd be a great place to settle a score. And, here's the thing, I'd have to think about it, but I think the person who'd really have to think about it would be Brock Lesnar. Because I don't think that he'd want to take all the momentum, all the good stuff that you guys have done, and then to roll into 105,000 people to Texas Stadium, AT&T, Cowboy Stadium, whatever you call it,
we should call
and get
him.
his ass smoked.
Why don't we call him?
Call him.
I'm going to.
Hell, I got his phone number too. I'll call him.
And of course, I had to have my phone. And look, just so you guys could see, my phone was off because people
all you got to
would
do is
call
turn
me.
the damn silencer off.
Well,
Paul, I would open up a can of whoop ass on Brock Lesnar's ass. You know it just as well as you're sitting right in front of me. It's been great talking to you.
Can we make it happen?
Well, we could discuss it.
I think we should. We should negotiate this. Should we go talk to Vince about it?
I would have 3 words for you. Not 2 words for you.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
It's probably
okay,
a
when
text from
someone's
Brock.
phone goes off of the podcast, that means you owe the whole crew here a beer.
I don't drink.
Okay, you got to buy me a beer. You got 3 words for it. I'll give you those 3 words. And I'm not saying the match is going to happen, but the only way that match could ever happen if all the stars in the universe lined up, and to build that match, to go to Dallas, Texas, my old stomping grounds. Hell, I went to college 30 miles from there. I drove down to the Sportatorium to watch the Pioneers fight the Freebirds at the Sportatorium. Pro wrestling.
Here we go.
Is that him? No, it ain't.
No.
Pro wrestling, damn it.
Fire all the writers. And it's from a writer.
I'm talking about
I'm not kidding either.
I'm
It's
talking
from one
about
of
the
writers.
biggest damn match you just brought up, and you're talking about firing writers. I'm talking about a Texas death match.
Okay.
You want a headline for WrestleMania? That would be the match. Do I want to go out there and get into a scientific scuffle with another human being built like Brock Lesnar? You might as well put bolts on the side of his neck because the guy's like Frankenstein walking down the street. I have tremendous respect for his ability in the ring, the level that he's advanced to, and just his freaky accomplishments in life in general, UFC, WWE. But make no mistake about it, Paul. If he was to stand across a squared circle from Stone Cold Steve Austin, you're getting a nice guy right here. Because it's funny doing the Stone Cold podcast. You know, this is basically a Steve Austin show. I actually have a sense of humor. I laugh about things. But if you're going to start poking Stone Cold, well, then you're poking the wrong sumbitch. And I don't give a rat's ass if it's Paul Heyman, if it's Brock Lesnar. If you start messing with Stone Cold, you're not going to like what you get back. That's about as easy as I can put it because I'm getting a little ramped up right now just looking at you, sorry ass.
I'm just an advocate. That's all. I'm
Well, you're advocating.
I'm advocating.
You're about to advocate an ass whooping, and your man ain't here to prevent that ass whooping from happening.
Who's your next guest, by the way?
I don't give a damn. I'm sitting here talking to you.
And I'm looking forward to your next podcast.
It's been a damn good time having you. Now, I'm gonna give you an option. There ain't no windows or stairs for me to throw your ass through.
I could leave.
That'd probably be the best damn thing you could do.
Well, thank you for having me.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
Up until about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Saddle up and get ready for Westerns Weeks on Pluto TV, all for free. We're coming in blazing with favorites like True Grit and Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Or immerse yourself in binge-worthy series like Yellowstone and Walker, Texas Ranger. Plus, Pluto TV has hundreds of channels with thousands more movies, TV shows, and more. The best part? It's free. No credit card, no sign-up, no fees. Download the Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices and start streaming now.